Good morning to each and everyone, especially to our dear teacher, Ma'am Sheena. Hi, my name is Martley Barr and I am part of Group 1 and we are here to discuss about transformational generative grammar. Before starting and explaining everything about it, let me share to you first the person or the mind behind this theory. So, Noam Chomsky. Avram Noam Chomsky was born on December 7, 1928, age 92, and he is a Jewish immigrant in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, US. He is an American linguist. When we say linguist, this is a person or people who studies linguistics or language. Philosopher, when we say philosopher, this is a person or people engaged or learned through philosophy. Cognitive scientist, when we say cognitive scientist, this is a person who is studying or has expert knowledge or thought processes, learning, and mental organization. Historian, a person who studies and writes about the past. Social critic and political activist. He is sometimes called the father of modern linguistics because of his contribution to it. Chomsky is also a major figure in analytic philosophy and one of the founders of the field of cognitive science. So, Noam Chomsky's life. His spouse is Carol Dorschatz. He has 3 children. His parents are William Chomsky, Elsie Simonovsky, and he received a lot of awards before. Guggenheim Fellowship 1971, member of the National Academy of Sciences 1972, APA Award for Distinguished Specific Contributions to Psychology 1984, Orwell Award 1987-1989, Kyoto Prize in Basic Science 1988, Helmholtz Medal 1996, and a lot more. Chomsky's grammar. Chomsky's system of transformational grammar, though it was developed on the basis of his work with Harris, differed from Harris's in a number of respects. It was Chomsky's system that attracted the most attention and received the most extensive exemplification and further development. So, the Chomsky system of transformational grammar, it is a system of language analysis that recognizes the relationship among the various elements of a sentence and among the possible sentences of a language. So, when we say various elements of a sentence, those are the subject, verbs, objects, noun phrase, and verb phrase. So, Zellig Harris, Zellig Habital Harris, October 23, 1909 to May 22, 1992, age 82, he is a Russian-born American scholar known and was an influential American linguist. As I've said earlier, when we say linguist, this is the person or the people that studies language. Mathematical syntactician and methodologist of science. Originally a semiticist, he is best known for his work in structural linguistics and discourse analysis and for the discovery of transformational structure in language. Zellig Harris is also the instructor or the teacher of Noam Chomsky. So this is Zellig Harris. Harris's grammar. He carried the structural linguistic ideas of Leonard Bloomfield to their furthest logical development, to discover the linear distributional relations of phonemes and morphemes. For Harris, a transformation relates surface structure sentence forms and is not a device to transform a deep structure into a surface structure, as it is in transformational grammar. Since Harris was Chomsky's teacher, some linguists didn't accept the theory that is being proposed by Chomsky.
So good day everyone. I am Shalome Apilan, reporting about the definition of transformational generative grammar. So again, the TG is a generative grammar, especially of a natural language. So that involves the use of defined operations called transformations to produce new sentences from existing ones. So generative grammar is defined as a description in the form of a set of rules for producing the grammatical sentence of a language. Transformational generative grammar is a set of grammar rules that are used when basic clauses are combined to form more complex sentences. So transformational grammar is a set of rules, again, that indicates the structure. So they are more on the structure and the interpretation of the sentences in which the native speakers of that language, example English, accept as belonging to their language. So in addition, transformational grammar is also a device for generating sentences in a language. Again, so it only generates the well-formed and grammatically correct sentences of a language, since it is meant to create the rules and principles which are in the mind or brain of the native speakers. So transformational grammar involves two levels to present the structure of the sentences. Okay, so these structures are called deep structure and the surface structure. So later on, that would be discussed and elaborated by our next reporter. Okay, so grammar refers to the set of rules that structure a language. So grammar structures a language, right? So including syntax, which is the arrangement of words to form phrases and sentences, and morphology, which is the study of words and how they are formed. So generative grammar is now a theory of grammar that holds the human language is shaped by a set of basic principles that are part of the human brain and even present in the brains of small children. So this universal grammar, according to linguists like Chomsky, comes from our innate language faculty. So adopting the generative or the term generative from mathematics linguist Noam Chomsky, he introduced the concept of generative grammar in 1950s. So this theory is also known as the transformational grammar, which is the term used today. So yun yung ginagamit ngayon. So generative grammar, to conclude, is a theory of grammar. So again, which was developed by Noam Chomsky. So those linguists who study generative grammar are not really interested in the prescriptive rules of language or grammar. Rather, they are interested in uncovering the foundational principles that guides all language production. Okay? So generative grammar accepts as the basic premise that native speakers of a language will find certain sentences, grammatical or ungrammatical, regardless, and that these judgments give insight into the rules governing the use of that language. So just like the linguists Parker and Catherine Riley, this is based on my research, they said that generative grammar is a theory of competence, a model of psychological system of unconscious knowledge that underlies speakers' ability to produce and interpret utterances in a language.
Good day, everyone. I am Florian Abakahin, and I am going to discuss the difference between TG or the traditional grammar and TGG or the transformational generative grammar. Traditional grammar is based on the descriptive grammar used to teach Latin for centuries, while a generative grammar was conceived as a way of describing language structure. Based on the definitions, I could actually understand it looks like TG or the traditional grammar focuses on building language from small parts like subject, verb, and etc., while TGG focuses on linguistic transformations and phrase structures. For example, the boy kicks the ball. The is the determiner used as noun modifier. Boy is the subject of the sentence. Kicks is the verb used to describe the action. Ball is the object that received the action word kicks. So, we can see the basic pattern or structure in English grammar that is VO, subject plus verb plus object. While in the next example, Ken kicks the ball, which is in the active voice. Ken is the doer or the subject. Kicks is a transitive verb. The ball is the object. Now let's take a look on the next example. The ball is kicked by Ken. Is an auxiliary verb. Kick is with ed or in the past participle form, followed by the word by, which is a preposition that makes the sentence into passive voice. TG or the traditional grammar is prescriptive. It describes how people should produce language. When we say prescriptive, it is concerned with what a grammarian thinks to be right or wrong. That is, it differentiates between good and bad language users. For example, in prescriptive, a grammarian might have explained that you should not end a sentence with a preposition, or a sentence should not start with a conjunction. So, this type of reference tells you how to speak so-called correct English, and we can refer it as a prescriptive grammar. TGG is said to be descriptive. It focuses on describing the language as it is actually used, not as it should be used. It is based on language used by the speaker. A descriptive grammar might include he goes, meaning he said. Learners can be encouraged to move away from prescriptive approach to grammar by using a guided discovery or the inductive approach.
Let us understand deeper what a deep structure and a surface structure is. So, have you ever experienced a situation where you felt words were not enough to express what you had in mind? If yes, you already understand what is the difference between deep structure and surface structure. Deep structure is what you wish to express, and surface structure is how you express it with the help of words and sentence. Okay, so there are times when we wanted to really express what we feel inside, but we sometimes feel that we cannot express it through words, or we can't find the right words how to say it. It's because there's difference between deep structure and surface structure. Sometimes we might find it that other words that we have, especially if we have a limited vocabulary, say if we are using a different language than what we natively, or what our native tongue is, sometimes we find it hard to express what we really want to say. It's because what our capabilities, what our vocabularies is limited from what is inside us, or what we feel inside, what we wanted to say. But there are times when deep structure and surface structure do connect, because we have an understanding, or we already know what certain words, what certain phrases mean. Let's just say you look into a menu, or a food that's already available, and what you really wanted to say, what the deep structure is that I'm hungry, I want to eat. That's what you wanted to say. But you look at those food, and maybe you have someone with you, and you tell them that looks good, or that looks delicious. So without you saying that I'm hungry, I want that food, I want to eat this kind of food, without you saying that directly, someone who's with you, or who understand you, will understand that you wanted to eat, that you're hungry, right? So that's the beauty of the deep structure and surface structure. Sometimes we don't have to say exactly what we mean, but by just a few words or few sentences, as long as we have a communication or a connection with the people we're talking to, they can already understand what we mean. Or if the phrases are really famous, or those phrases are known to other people, who having deeper structure, then it's easier for us to state or express what we have in mind. Why is it important to understand deep structure and surface structure, to understand their difference? So, if a particular deep structure could have been represented by only one surface structure, and a particular surface structure could only be represented by one deep structure, then there will be no scope of misunderstanding. So if a certain word, or a certain phrase or sentence could only mean one thing, then we won't have any problem with that. But that is not always the case. So sometimes there are words, say for example, a surface structure with multiple deep structure. Let us take for example this sentence that I have. Annie whacked a man with an umbrella. So by just reading it, you can, or someone can interpret it in two different ways. First is that Annie used her umbrella to whack a man, right? Annie whacked a man with an umbrella. Or the other meaning would be a man with an umbrella was whacked by Annie. We don't know what Annie used to whack the man, but it's a man who has the umbrella that was whacked by Annie. So you see, there's just one surface structure, one sentence, but then there are two deep structure that we can understand, or we can formulate by this sentence. So it is really important for us to understand what a deep structure is, or what a surface structure, for us to be able to analyze what a person is talking about. Because based on what we have discussed in our other subject, we have the ambiguity, or sometimes there's really hard, or it's really hard for us to know what are they talking about. What do they mean by what the words they said? But of course, since we're talking about transformational grammar, then we will go back to the concept of how was this sentence said? What are the other words, or what are the topic that they are discussing before this sentence was said, so they can connect it to what they mean to say. Of course, before someone say this or said this statement, they must be talking about other things. So you will connect, or you will try to see the pattern, or the map of where this sentence, where this conversation is going, for you to understand what really is the deep structure of this surface or this sentence that is being said.
Hi, my name is Maria Risa Pamela P. Alemania, and my topic is all about the transformations. So when we say transformation, it can be defined as a device for changing one sentence into another sentence. To perform the transformation, we need the sentence, deep structure, transformations, surface structure, and another structure. In transformation, we have the WH movement. So when we say WH movement, it is a mechanism of syntax that helps express a question. Sentences or clauses containing a WH word that show a special word order that has the WH word appearing at the front of the sentence or clauses. So, in WH movement, we have the three types of questions. The yes-no questions, that the answer to the question is yes or no. And the second one is the question word. So, the answer to the question word is an information. So, the third one is the choice question. And in choice question, the answer to the question is inside the question too. So we have an example here. John read the book. The book was read by John. So the next example is George saw Mary. And who did George see? And who saw Mary? The next one is the types of transformation. The subject verb inversion and the subject operator inversion. So when we say subject verb inversion, the inversion happens when we reverse the normal word order of structure. Most commonly, the subject verb word order. For example, a statement has the subject before the verb, but to make question order, we invert the subject and the verb with an auxiliary or a modal verb before the subject. So for example, your sister's there. So if we invert the sentence, uh, the sentence will be there's your sister. So the next one is the subject operator inversion. So when we say subject operator inversion, it is frequently occurring type of inversion in English, whereby a finite auxiliary verb taken here to include finite forms of the copula be appears to invert with the subject. The word order is therefore auxiliary subject, which is the opposite of the canonical subject verb order of declarative clauses in English. So, for example, I never thought of disobedience again. And never again did I think of disobedience. He must strain on no account. On no account must he strain. He has affected by the virus so badly. So badly was the affected by the virus. He did not say a word. Not a word did he say. I have never seen it. Never have seen it. So
Okay, now that we are done with the transformation, I, Griselda Bautista, will discuss the ways of analyzing those transformation. So, should be syntactically and semantically correct. For syntactic, it follows the sentence structure and grammar rules, and for the semantic, the meaning of words, phrases, or sentences. Now, let's take a look for syntactic. So it comes originally from Greek. That means a putting together or arrangement. So in short, these are the order or arrangement of words or phrases to form proper sentences. So it follows the basic one, the simple sentence, which is the subject plus verb plus direct object or the SVO. So while people can do what they want with language, and many often do, syntax helps common users of a language understand how to organize words so that they make most sense. Now let's start with this sentence. Hit Jillian the ball. So it has subject, yes, it has verb, yes, it has object, yes. But does it make sense? No, right? Now, it follows the first one to form a structure, but doesn't follow the grammar rules. So, using normal rules of syntax, our first example sentence means nothing. But if we rearrange those exact words in a new order, they make a perfect syntactical sense. Jillian hit the ball. Now it makes more sense now than the first one, right? Now for semantic, so it is the meaning and interpretation. So it talks about the meaning of words, phrases, and sentences, or the interpretation of words, signs, and sentence structure. So in semantic analysis, there is always an attempt to focus on what words conventionally mean. So largely determine our reading comprehension, how we understand others, or even what decisions we make as a result of our interpretation. So if we arrange our first example to read, the hamburger eats the boy. It might made sense as far as syntax, right? Because in syntax, again, we talk about the structure and the grammar rules. So it has noun phrase, it has verb, it has direct object, right? But it seems a little odd when considering semantics because we are talking about the meaning and interpretation. So that's weird in semantic. The example sentence is weird in semantics because that's because hamburger cannot eat boys, but boys can eat hamburger. So it should be the boy eats the hamburger. Now let's talk about the result of generative grammar. So we have paraphrase and we have ambiguity. So in paraphrase, um, we have several surface structures that is related to one deep structure. So again, one deep structure but several surface structures. So we have three sample sentences here, which are the surface structures. So first one is John brought the book. It's bought. John bought the book from Mary. Number two is Mary sold the book to John. The book was sold to John by Mary. So it means one thing, right? So that is the deep structure, but it can be written in a lot of ways. Second one is ambiguity. So we have one surface structure that is related to several deep structures. So we have one here, one example, surface structure. Flying planes can be dangerous. So this surface structure, this sentence can mean two things. So the flying planes that they are pertaining can be to fly planes, or it could be the planes which are flying. Again, in ways of analyzing the transformation, we have semantic and syntactic. For the result, we have paraphrase and ambiguity. So that is the end of our report. I hope you learn a lot from this, and thank you so much for listening.